Hello everyone, this is Manjula Devi P, Assistant Professor at GFGC Kanakpura. In this session, we are discussing about strategic management of BBA 6th semester of Bangalore University. In that unit 3, strategic planning. In this unit, today we are discussing about one of the very important topic, which is competitive analysis, in that Michael Porter's 5 forces model. So, I will tell you, being a business management student, you will be connected to this Michael Porter's 5 forces model throughout your academics. Like in your BBA you will study this, even in BBA in so many subjects you will study this. In MBA again, almost in all subjects you will come across with Michael Porter's 5 forces model, because it's that important, it's that relevant. In marketing you study, in many subjects, strategic planning, in so many subjects you are going to study this particular theory. So, I think in this session or in this semester you are studying this for the first time. So, you will be having this throughout your other semester, I am sure. Okay. So, let us see what is competitive analysis and what Mr. Michael Porter has given about it. First and foremost, competitive analysis is assessing the extent of competitiveness and attractiveness of one particular industry. So, here we are talking about the industry as a whole, not just one business. So, hope you are clear about concept of industry and firm. Industry includes all the related firms related to one particular product or service. For example, when we talk about cement industry, in cement industry you have so many players, you have Ultratech, you have Rajshri, you have so many cements, isn't it? Ambuja cement, so many cements you have, Birla Super, so many. So, that means they are all part of cement industry. So, industry is cement industry. In that, if we are taking say Birla Super, then Birla Super is a firm. Okay. So, I want you to have that clear cut idea about what is industry, what is firm. When it comes to Michael Porter's model, he is talking about the competitive analysis of an industry. Okay. Suppose if you want to enter into an industry, you want to enter into say retail, or you want to enter into say toothpaste industry, or say talcum powder industry, or fairness cream industry. So, where there are so many players in that particular. So, you need to assess what is the competitive attractiveness of that particular industry. Okay, you need to have a ground knowledge about how is that industry working, what is its competitive edge. So, for that you can take always Michael Porter's 5 forces model as a base to assess the competitiveness of that particular industry. So, now let us see a small background about Michael Porter or this 5 forces model. It was developed in 1979 by Michael E. Porter of Harvard Business School. This is a simple framework for assessing and evaluating the competitive strength and position of a business organization, as well as you can apply this for the industry. Okay. Then, what is the significance of this Porter's model? The primary task of strategic management is to select potentially highly profitable industries by analyzing 5 factors. So, when you are assessing an industry, the profitability of an industry, you have to look in 5 angles or 5 dimensions. What are the dimensions? The main factors of the industry are the suppliers of the industry, buyers or consumers of the industry, the competitors within the industry. Then, if there is any alternative or substitutes available in that industry, or the potential new entrants, like how open is that industry, can anyone be the new entrant, or are there any entry restriction or entry barriers. So all these things combined together will give you an idea of the competitiveness of the industry. So these are the 5 major components of any industry: suppliers in the industry, customers in the industry, the current number of competitors in the industry, the substitutes for the products of the particular industry, and the entry barriers or the potential entrants that can be there in the industry. Now let us see, by keeping all these 5 factors into consideration, what is Michael Porter's analysis about all these 5 factors. So if you notice the diagram, Porter's 5 force model. So there are 5 elements in the diagram. So at the center you have the 5 forces, or I can say their competitive force in the industry. So if we start from threat of new entrants, then I have threat of substitutes, then I have bargaining power of the buyers, then bargaining power of the suppliers, then rivalry among the existing competitors. So all these 5 factors becomes important, or these 5 factors determine the competitiveness of the industry. So let us take one by one. Okay, the first factor what we consider, bargaining power of suppliers. So if in that industry, when I gave so many examples, suppose you are in a cement industry, automobile industry, electronics industry, you are in say toothpaste industry or tooth powder or any FMCG industry. So in that particular industry, what is the bargaining power of suppliers? Who are the suppliers and what is their bargaining power? When the inputs, elements are provided by the supplier constitute a large portion of the total cost of the product. Suppose the industry is such that the raw materials or the inputs what you take constitute major portion of your total cost of the product. That means your suppliers becomes very important, and the moment they are important, definitely they would like to have their own terms. You have to act according to their terms, your suppliers terms. Again, the number of suppliers in the market also, suppose if there are few number of suppliers in the particular market, in that particular industry, then again you have to be abided by whatever the terms and conditions they say. So if there are more number of suppliers in the market, then you have a better position being a business. If there are less number of suppliers, then you have to be abided by their terms and conditions. Again, the input what you are buying, that means the raw materials or the components what you are buying, their cost is major portion in the total cost of production, then in that case also it becomes a critical or key area of your business. So then also the suppliers will have a upper hand when it comes to terms and conditions. So when you are assessing the competitiveness of an industry, if the suppliers are having a high power in that particular industry, that means you have to be abided by their terms and conditions. If there are more number of suppliers, if the input or the raw material what is being supplied is available everywhere, and if the cost of raw material is very economical or cheap compared to the total cost of production that you have to put, then it's your bargaining power of suppliers is less, so you have an upper hand on them. Okay, so that is about the bargaining power of the suppliers. Now in the most of the agro based industries, okay, so suppose let's take vegetable oil industry. So in that case, if we take any refined, say sunflower oil, so in that case again the major portion goes with the sunflower seeds which comes, and there you have so many agriculturists, so many people who are selling. So the bargaining power of your suppliers, that means of the agriculturists, is not so. That means you can easily bargain with them, you can fix the prices. Suppose if there is no government intervention, even that is important. In some of the products, government intervention also comes, where there are regulated prices, or where there is a price ceiling or price flooring. So all those things, matters when we talk about the bargaining power of the suppliers. So if bargaining power is more for them, then you have to be agreeing for their terms and conditions. Then the next one, bargaining power of buyers. So who are your customers and what is their bargaining power? If you have more number of customers, you are selling a product which is a mass product, okay, you have so many customers, then you are the king. You can fix your price whatever you want because there are so many customers. So like the business has an upper hand. But if your bargaining power of the buyers is more, that means buyers mainly influence the profitability of the existing companies in the industry through their ability to lower prices and requirement to provide higher product or service quality. Now, if there are only few buyers but there are large buyers, okay, few buyers but they are large, then they will have an upper hand in bargaining for the lower price for the better quality, and they demand for a higher quality of the product. So if there are many buyers, so you have many types of buyers, like they are not really price sensitive, then you can fix the price by seeing the other factors. And like you suppose you are selling at a fixed price, so if they want they can buy, otherwise they need not to. So then in such case you are having an upper hand. But if the bargaining power of buyers are more, then you have to be abided by the terms and conditions of the buyers. So again, in such industry, it's you have to think once again when you are getting into such industry. Then threat of new entrants. So here again, very important for the competitive analysis. Who are the new entrants? These are the people who are entering into the industry, fresh entrants who are making new investment in the industry. Now, if an industry is open for new entrants, that means there is chances of more competition coming up in your way. So the chances of your market share getting diluted, or chances of new products and services coming up from the new entrants, and again the chances of them lowering the prices, offering the products at a lesser price than your price. So all those things would come up. Suppose if an industry is such that where new entrants can easily come, then that industry basically will have all these vulnerabilities. Suppose if you are a player in that particular industry, if new entrants can easily come, then you are always having this threat of facing a higher competition, reduction in the prices, more supply in the market, so consumer would demand lesser prices. So all those things. Or if the industry is such that where there is no threat of new entrants, or there are a lot of entry barriers. The entry barriers could be maybe a government restriction, or maybe the investment in that industry is so high that not easily everyone can afford. Suppose if I want to start a petrol bunk, I cannot start tomorrow, isn't it? Because again there are so many legal procedures, so many things. But if I want to start a kirana shop, of course I can start tomorrow. Tomorrow I can just buy things from wholesale and put up a shop in front of my house, isn't it? That means for the kirana shop, the new threat of new entrants is like so many. I mean, like it's very prominent. But when it comes to a petrol bunk, there are no threat of new entrants. I mean, I'm not saying no. I mean, the threat of new entrants is less, isn't it? So that means the entry barriers for a particular industry also matters and becomes important when I am talking about the competitive analysis. Then threat of substitutes. So what are substitutes? So these are the commodities which are like alternate products. Okay, suppose I drink coffee, tea can be a substitute. Okay, for sugar I have sugar free or like many other saccharine products, they are the substitute, isn't it? Instead of sugar I can use them, isn't it? So likewise, if the industry where you are operating is unique, where there is no substitute, okay, then that industry enjoys a better competitive position. But if your industry has a commodity in such a way that there can be substitute, so then in such case, then the industry is having a lesser competitive advantage, because any small change in your industry prices or the quality, so people can easily jump to the substitutes. So when I am doing a industry analysis, I have to see if there are substitutes for the products or goods or service that I am offering, or if it is unique, there is no other substitute, people have to come. Suppose we talk about petroleum. Petroleum, hardly there are substitutes. Of course, there is biofuel. Nowadays, the threat of electric vehicle has come, but the chances of this substitutes are like less as of now. But maybe after 10 years, the scenario might be different. So on road, you may see only electric cars and electric bikes. But right now, the petrol has substitute of the threat is less in petroleum industry. Nowadays it's coming up, but earlier it wasn't there. Again, there is a concept of biopetrol that is very minimal, isn't it? So any industry which has more substitutes is more vulnerable, which has less substitute enjoys a better position. Then competition among existing competitors in the industry. So in that particular industry, what is the competition, extent of competition? Does it have perfect competition? Does it have imperfect competition, or do they have monopoly? Do they have duopoly? Do they have oligopoly? Do they have monopolistic? What is the extent of competition that they have in the industry? Some industries may be oligopoly industries, like when we talk about telecom. Telecom, we have few service providers and large number of buyers, isn't it? So it's an oligopoly industry. When we talk about Indian Railways, so it's a monopoly competition. There's no substitute or there's no competitor for them, isn't it? If we talk about any FMCG product, it is monopolistic, because there are more sellers as well as more buyers, isn't it? Each day a new fairness cream comes, each day a fairness cream vanishes. Or when we talk about soap, toothpaste, all such products. So there are so many companies which are there, and there are so many buyers as well, isn't it? That means, what is the extent of competition that is there in the market? Okay, what is the type of competition? And again, this extent becomes very important when you are deciding the market share, when you are deciding your prices, when you are deciding your offers, discounts. So all that matters are directly related to the extent of competition which is there in the industry. Okay, so you have to see, if there are the existing competition, the rivalry is less among competitors, then that means it is good. If there is a cutthroat competition in the industry, then you always have to be you always have to watch your competitors about what exactly they are up to, and then formulate your strategy according to theirs. Okay, so that's important, the competitors, existing competitors in the industry. So these are the 5 forces what Michael Porter has come up with to check the attractiveness or competitiveness of any industry. So to have a recap, let's see once again what are the different factors that we saw. This is about Porter's 5 force analysis model. Now I would suggest students take up one industry. Okay, take up telecom industry. For the telecom industry, check that industry attractiveness by applying all these, or take off any industry for that matter. Take automobile. So automobile, again in that you have car, you have bikes. Take cars. So in the automobile sector, what are the different cars you have, brands? You have Tatas, you have now MJ Hector Plus has come, you have Maruti, you have Hyundai, you have Nissan. Likewise, just list out the automobile industry for the say four wheelers. So in that apply all these. Is there a threat of new entrants? So can any company easily come up with the car segment? Or is there any substitute for the car? Of course, instead of car there are many modes of transport available, isn't it? Then what is the bargaining power of buyers? So buyers here may not have huge bargaining power, isn't it? But of course, if you give discount, you can increase your sales. But what is the bargaining power of suppliers? Of course, car has so many components that has to be like for car manufacturing, the major portion of the cost goes of course for the components. So your total cost of production, in that the material costs are high, so your suppliers are having a higher bargaining power. Then rivalry among competitors. Of course, again in car segment you have so many. You have small car, mid car, you have sports car, SUV, XUV, so many variants are there. So in that, what is the rivalry among the existing competitors? What is the market share that each one is sharing? And when new car, recently we have two brands, Kia and MJ Hector Plus, isn't it? So when these two came, how did this dynamics in the market have changed? So the beauty of this 5 force model is that you can check this model with any industry for that matter. Okay, if you take FMCG, so what happened when Patanjali came? How this dynamics have changed? So what happened to the consumers? What happened to the substitutes? So it had got a lot of substitutes, isn't it? So all that you can check. You can take any industry and put for this model and check yourself whether that industry is enjoying the competitive position. So again, just to recall or recap, what are the 5 forces? 5 force or 5 elements before that, if we see any industry, the 5 important elements of any industry are the suppliers, buyers or the customers, competitors, substitutes for that industry products, and the potential entrants. So Michael Porter takes this 5 elements of any industry. So what is the threat of new entrants? Are there any chances that new entrants can come easily? Then the competitiveness in the industry is more like, that means it is like a risk. Then threat of substitutes. If the industry has a lot of substitutes, so if not this product, people can shift to the other one. So then even that poses a great threat. Then bargaining power of buyers. Is your bargaining power of buyers is high or less? Do you have more number of buyers who make small purchases, or small number of buyers who make big purchases? Okay, so that matters to check the bargaining power. Then the suppliers. So if your bargaining power of suppliers, again, are there too many suppliers in the industry, or there are only few suppliers in the industry? And what is the value of the supplies that you buy compared to the total cost of production on the product? Is it the direct material cost or whatever the suppliers, supplies cost is higher or lower in your cost of production? If it is higher, definitely your suppliers having a upper hand when it comes to bargaining. Then what is the level of competition inside the industry? So what is the nature of competition? Or is there any one market leader and all others are following, or each one is trying to compete with each other, or there are too many firms, small firms who actually do not influence each other. Each one have their own way of doing things. So likewise, what is the existing competition scenario in that particular industry also matters when we are checking the competitive attractiveness of one particular industry. So you can apply this model for any industry for that matter. Yeah, in this you should be clear about what is an industry, what is a firm. Industry includes all the similar firms. Yeah, just to wind up the session, Porter's 5 forces model provides tool for in-depth analysis of the company's industry. So, which industry your company is situated in, helping the companies to understand the competitive environment. So, in order to be a player in the market, so you need to first understand your position of your industry. Then you can make strategies later. Correctly grasp the 5 competitive forces facing the company and formulate a strategy that is beneficial to the company's competitive position. So, as I said, not every strategy is suitable for every company. So, you have to see what is the situation of your industry in which you are working and then formulate according to that. So, the 5 forces of according to Michael Porter, to check the competitiveness of the industry is bargaining power of suppliers, bargaining power of buyers, threat of new entrants, threat of substitutes and competition of existing firms in the industry. So, these are the references that you can check for further understanding, and again it is one of the important theory or concept that you are going to learn, because this is there in almost every stage of your business education. Okay. So, understand the concept, understand the different variants. So, these are the further references which you can see. Thank you very much. We will meet in the next session.